They told you being alone was a punishment. They lied. What if the very thing you've been running from, the isolation, the empty rooms, the silence that shadows you everywhere, isn't something to fear, but the place where your strength is born? In solitude, you're forced to confront yourself. You stop hiding behind the noise of the world and start listening to your own mind. This is where growth begins, in the quiet, in the stillness. The Stoics knew this. They understood that solitude strips away distractions and reveals who you truly are. It's not something to escape. It's the space where the strongest version of yourself takes shape. You've heard it all your life. Loneliness is bad. You should avoid it. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, why? Why has society convinced us that being alone means lacking something essential? Could it be that isolation has been weaponized, designed to tether us to external validation, preventing us from discovering the depths within ourselves? We've been trained to fear solitude, to fill it with noise and distractions. But what if solitude isn't a void, but a playground for growth? What if in these quiet moments, we come alive in ways we never imagined? Alone, truly alone, the world's distractions vanish. You're left with only your own thoughts. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, perhaps even frightening, but that discomfort is a spark, a forge, the fire that shapes your inner strength. In the silence, you meet yourself, not the version shaped by what others think, but the authentic self buried beneath layers of influence and expectation. In solitude, the masks fall, the clutter fades. Only what is real remains. This confrontation is where growth begins. Facing your thoughts without interference builds the foundation for a stronger, more authentic life. Every moment of true solitude strips away the excess, the false identities crafted to fit in. You stop relying on external forces to define you. Your worth no longer depends on approval, validation, or recognition from anyone else. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Solitude gives you the space to shape your thoughts, to mold them into a reflection of your true self. It's no longer about measuring up to others. It's about stepping into your power, realizing the only person you need to answer to is yourself. Society doesn't want you to see this. It thrives on keeping you connected, distracted, dependent on constant validation. Social media, consumerism, endless opinions, all designed to keep you from looking inward, from embracing the transformative power of solitude. But when you do, when you embrace the quiet, you unlock something profound. Your mind clears, your strength grows, and your life begins to align with your true purpose. Solitude isn't punishment. It's the path to freedom, the forge of resilience, the sanctuary of the self. Your thoughts. But when you learn to sit in silence without seeking anyone's approval, life begins to look different. You stop living for the likes, the comments, the external praise. You start living for the only person whose opinion truly matters, yourself. And once you reach this point, there's no going back. The fear of being alone loses its grip. What was once seen as a weakness transforms into a wellspring of inner strength. If this idea resonates, if you're learning to turn solitude into power, subscribe. Not just to follow a channel, but to cultivate the mindset that helps you grow even when the world goes quiet. Being alone isn't about disconnecting from life or withdrawing from others out of fear. It's about reclaiming your power, finding your voice in the silence. As Carl Jung wisely said, loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate what truly matters to you. The world is loud. Its noise drowns out what matters most, our inner voice, our deepest desires, our authentic selves. But in solitude, we hear that voice clearly. It's in silence that we stop searching for answers in others and start discovering them within ourselves. In a world that pressures us to belong, to connect, to conform, embracing solitude is an act of quiet rebellion. It's saying, I don't need to be part of the crowd to be complete. It's the recognition that you are enough, exactly as you are, and your worth doesn't hinge on anyone else's approval. As Epictetus reminded us, true freedom is the ultimate goal in life, and it comes from ignoring what lies beyond our control. In solitude, you're free from the need to please, free from the expectations of others. And in that freedom, you discover a deeper sense of purpose, clarity, and direction. The world will chase endless distractions, but you, in your solitude, have found something far more valuable: your own peace, your own truth. The power of being alone isn't just about escaping others. It's about reconnecting with your strength and unlocking your full potential. Look at the greatest thinkers, the visionaries who changed the course of history. They didn't wait for approval from the masses. They found clarity, inspiration, and insight in moments of quiet. They embraced solitude, not as punishment, but as a chance to create, reflect, and transform their understanding of life. Your mind is no different. Left undisturbed, it can craft masterpieces, solve complex problems, and uncover truths buried beneath everyday noise. So when loneliness creeps in, remember, it's not a punishment, it's a privilege. A rare space where you can meet yourself untainted, undistracted, and unafraid. It's in the stillness, away from the judgments and expectations of others, that you discover the power to find peace. It's here that you can build a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. The question is, will you allow the discomfort to guide you toward growth? Or will you run, letting the noise drown out the most important voice? The one inside your head, the one that's been waiting patiently for you to finally listen? When you're truly alone, you're not missing out on life. You're preparing for it. You're being forged in the fire of solitude, emerging stronger, clearer, and ready to step into the world as the person you were always meant to be. Think about the stories we've been told. Movies, books, narratives where the hero is never truly alone. Surrounded by friends, allies, mentors, the ideal seems to be constant support. Everyone needs someone to lean on. But in reality, true transformation happens when the hero steps away from the crowd, when they walk their path alone. It's in that moment, when distractions fade, that real growth begins. This isn't just a story of one emperor or one hero. It's the story of every person who has made a significant impact. The thinkers, the writers, the philosophers, the innovators. They didn't wait for permission to explore the depths of their minds. They didn't wait for anyone to give them a reason to think. They embraced solitude to uncover their own truths. And in doing so, they changed the world. You don't need to be surrounded by people to make a difference. Sometimes, stepping away from the crowd is what allows you to hear your own voice most clearly. Consider the contrast: the noise of the world versus the stillness of solitude. In the noise, you're bombarded by other people's opinions, ideas, and expectations. You begin to lose sight of who you are because you're too busy meeting the demands of others. But in solitude, you reconnect with yourself. You rediscover the parts of you that were buried under outside pressures. You begin to think freely, without constant interference from other people's thoughts. And in that space, you create, not echoes of what others have said, but ideas from your unique perspective. The concept of solitude as a source of power isn't new. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't shy away from being alone. They embraced it as a tool for self-growth. As Epictetus reminded us, no man is free who is not master of himself. And how can you truly master yourself if you're constantly surrounded by others, constantly chasing approval, constantly distracted? Solitude is not emptiness, it's the forge of freedom. The space where your mind sharpens, your creativity ignites, and your true self emerges. Mastery begins with understanding who you truly are at your core. And that requires solitude. It demands stepping away from the world to reflect, grow, and strengthen your mind. When you remove yourself from the noise, when you gift yourself the space of solitude, something remarkable happens. You start to hear your own voice, not the voice of your parents, friends, or society, but your voice, the one that has always been there, quietly waiting to be heard. Once you begin listening to that voice, you realize it carries the wisdom you've been searching for all along. Approval from others becomes irrelevant. Instead, you start living in alignment with your own values and beliefs. You become the hero of your own story, the one defined not by the opinions of others, but by the truths you've uncovered within yourself. And the beauty of this is that, like Marcus Aurelius, you don't need a crowd to find peace. You don't need a group to affirm your worth. True solitude isn't isolation. It's connection. Connection to yourself, to your inner world, to the deeper truths beyond the surface of daily life. It's about finding clarity, peace, and purpose, not through noise, but through silence. So, if you find yourself alone, if your journey feels misunderstood by others, remember this: you are not lost. You are discovering something few ever will. In the silence, in the solitude, you are being shaped into a version of yourself that is stronger, clearer, and more authentic. The noise of the world will always be there, but it is in quiet that you gain the power to rise above it, just as the greatest minds throughout history have done. Solitude is not absence, it is presence. A sacred space to cultivate your own thoughts, ideas, and values. The moment you embrace it, something profound happens. You realize you no longer need external validation to define who you are. You are no longer tethered to the opinions of others. You become self-sufficient. And that self-sufficiency is a power few truly understand. It is not a power that can be given or taken. It is internal, growing in the quiet spaces, far from the noise and demands of the world. When you stand alone, something shifts within. A sense of freedom emerges when you see that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel whole. The need to impress, to conform, to seek acceptance, it fades. This doesn't mean cutting yourself off from the world. It means standing firm in who you are, regardless of what anyone else thinks. The more you learn to stand alone, the less the fleeting opinions of others affect you. This isn't rejection, it's recognition. Recognition of your own worth. When you stop seeking validation, you stop performing for others. You stop molding yourself to fit into shapes never meant for you. Instead, you exist authentically, free from external confirmation. In today's world, this feels uncomfortable. From childhood, we are taught to chase connection, approval, and belonging. We are told we need others to be complete, that without companionship, we are lacking. We grow up seeking friendships, partnerships, social media validation, and a sense of belonging in a world that tells us solitude is incompleteness. Yet, in this constant chase for connection, we lose sight of who we truly are and what we stand for. The irony is stark. The more we seek external validation, the less we understand ourselves. But the truth is waiting for you in the quiet. It's when you stand alone, when you're truly comfortable in your own company, that you become a force impossible to manipulate. You're no longer a puppet dancing to the strings of societal expectations or external opinions. You stop bending to every trend, every passing judgment, every fleeting whim. Instead, you begin walking your own path, one defined by your values, your beliefs, and your authentic self. On that journey, you cultivate a presence so grounded in truth that others can't help but notice it. They may not be needed, but they are drawn to the clarity and inner strength radiating from you. Understand that this shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of introspection, patience, and discomfort. We are creatures of habit, and stepping away from the world's noise can feel jarring. It's easy to fill the emptiness of solitude with people, distractions, or constant activity. But in those moments of discomfort, the seeds of self-discovery are planted. Through that unease, we begin shedding the layers imposed on us by others. In solitude, we reconnect with what truly matters. We start hearing our own voice again, the one drowned out for far too long by the expectations of the world. Carl Jung understood this deeply. He believed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Becoming your true self requires space to reflect, explore, and grow. It demands stepping away from the crowd, from the noise, and listening to your own inner wisdom. Solitude gives you that gift. It reconnects you with your inner self, revealing who you are beneath the layers built by the outside world. This journey of self-discovery isn't easy, but it is essential for true peace and authenticity. Here lies the transformative power of solitude. The more time you spend with yourself, the less you rely on others to define your worth. You begin to recognize the value of your own thoughts, feelings, and decisions. You stop asking for permission to be yourself and start claiming your identity with confidence. This is not arrogance, it's self-respect. When you no longer depend on others to tell you who you are or how you should feel, you gain the freedom to live by your own principles, not by the ever-changing tides of external approval. As you embrace solitude, something remarkable happens. You begin to trust yourself more. You start to see that your inner voice, your intuition, and your judgment are powerful enough to guide your life. You are enough exactly as you are, without needing to prove anything to anyone. This is where real personal power lives. It's not in impressing others or blending in with the crowd. It's in owning who you are without apology. When you truly own yourself, you stop chasing things that don't serve you. You stop filling empty spaces with people or distractions just to escape the discomfort of being alone. Instead, you start creating a life that reflects your true desires, your authentic values, and your real purpose. So, what does this mean for you? It means solitude is not to be feared. It is to be embraced. The next time you find yourself alone, don't run. Don't drown the silence in noise or distractions. Lean into it. Let the quiet speak. Let stillness reveal the parts of yourself that have been hidden. It is in these moments of solitude that clarity, strength, and self-assurance emerge. You will realize that you are not incomplete in your loneliness. You are whole just as you are. And when you understand this, you no longer seek validation from the world. You stand firm in your truth, unaffected by the opinions of others. That is the power of solitude, and it is something no one can ever take from you. As you step into this space of self-sufficiency, remember that embracing solitude is a journey toward deeper understanding. A journey toward becoming the person you were truly meant to be, free from the noise and distractions of the world. The more you learn to stand alone, the stronger and more resilient you become. But this journey isn't always easy. There is a subtle, insidious fear in being alone. The fear of facing your own thoughts, your vulnerabilities, your inner darkness. We are conditioned to believe that solitude equals emptiness. And when we are faced with it, the silence can feel overwhelming. The absence of noise and distraction exposes the parts of ourselves we have long avoided. The truth is, it's not solitude itself that is frightening. It's the confrontation with ourselves. It's recognizing that in the quiet, the fears and insecurities we've been running from are no longer hidden. They emerge front and center, demanding to be faced. The more you lean into this, the more you understand that the darkness isn't something to fear. It's something to integrate. These parts of yourself, though difficult, carry valuable lessons. They show where you still hold pain, where you cling to what no longer serves you, where you seek validation from the wrong places. When you take the time to reflect, to truly be alone with your thoughts, you begin to see the sources of these fears. They are rarely as powerful as they first appear. It's only when we avoid them, when we distract ourselves, that they grow into insurmountable obstacles. In solitude, they shrink. Their grip weakens. Embracing this process doesn't make the fears disappear completely. But once you integrate them, they no longer control you. Once you accept that these fears, doubts, and insecurities are part of you, not something to be ashamed of, but something to embrace, you gain control over them. You stop being at the mercy of your emotions. Instead, you become the master of your responses, the captain of your own actions. Fear no longer paralyzes you. It becomes a tool, a source of wisdom, guiding you toward greater self-awareness. This isn't just intellectual understanding, it's a deep emotional experience. You can know something with your mind, but true change comes only when you live it. When you face uncomfortable truths in the silence, that's when transformation occurs. This process is ongoing. It's not completed in a week or a month. It is a lifelong journey. Yet, with every step, with every confrontation, you move closer to the person you were always meant to be. A person at peace with their own darkness, and by extension, at peace with the world. You begin to realize that solitude isn't something to avoid. It's the very thing that allows you to step into your power. It is in solitude that you find the courage to be fully yourself, without apology. The more you face your shadows, the more you see that you have the strength to handle any challenge life places before you. You no longer depend on external validation, because you've already validated yourself through inner discovery. The external world becomes less important. What truly matters is your relationship with yourself, your ability to be at peace with who you are, and your unwavering confidence in your own journey. Solitude, then, isn't just about being alone. It's the journey of becoming, the path to your full potential, discovered by confronting the parts of yourself you've avoided. The fear, the doubt, the insecurities, they are not enemies to defeat, but teachers to understand. They guide you toward growth. And when you emerge from the crucible of solitude, you are not just stronger, you are free. Free from the need for approval, free from the weight of unacknowledged fears, free to live life on your own terms. This freedom, this self-sufficiency, is a power that can never be taken. It is the power of embracing yourself fully and authentically, and solitude will give this to you if you are brave enough to face it. So what happens when you stop fearing solitude? When you begin using it as a tool instead of fleeing it, you unlock your true potential. You stop reacting to the world around you. You are no longer a slave to circumstances. Instead, you act from a place of deep inner strength, not because of what others want from you, but because of what you want from yourself. This shift is transformative. It changes how you approach every aspect of life. No longer are you seeking to fit in, to belong, or to please others. You focus on what truly matters, and that focus propels you toward growth and self-discovery. You no longer need permission to be yourself. In fact, you stop asking for validation altogether. You begin to live authentically, forging your own path rather than following the crowd. The crowd consumes, reacts, repeats, and imitates. It follows trends and seeks approval. But the individual who embraces solitude, the quiet moments, creates. They think independently. They forge their own path, untethered from the world's expectations. When you are truly alone, you are free to explore your own ideas without the noise of others dictating what is possible. In those moments of silence, you hear your own thoughts clearly. You create and innovate, not to impress, but because it is your nature to do so. Creativity doesn't need validation, and neither do you. You don't need anyone's approval to create something meaningful in your own life. We've been conditioned to believe that the crowd must validate our ideas, actions, and worth. But the truth is, when you step away from the noise, you hear yourself more clearly. You can focus on what truly matters and start building a life aligned with your values, not someone else's. In solitude, clarity emerges. You make decisions guided by your instincts, not by what others expect. This independence becomes strength. Solitude isn't about rejecting the world or isolating yourself. It's about standing firm in who you are and forging your own path. Its beauty lies in stripping away the need for external validation. In the quiet, your true voice surfaces. You stop chasing approval and begin to trust yourself deeply. The fear of mistakes fades because you understand that every step is a step toward becoming who you are meant to be. This self-reliance empowers you. You move forward confidently, knowing you can navigate life's challenges without needing others to tell you what's right or wrong. You no longer look to the crowd. You look within. As Epictetus wisely said, man is not disturbed by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. When we remove the crowd's distractions, the world becomes clearer, and imagined anxieties lose their grip. Solitude isn't meant to be permanent. It's about balance. The goal isn't total retreat from society, but understanding the power of solitude in shaping who we are and what we bring to the world. It is in quiet reflection that we find the strength to connect with others on a deeper, more authentic level. True connection doesn't come from seeking approval, it comes from standing alone with confidence and clarity. The most genuine relationships form when both people are secure within themselves, not dependent on each other for validation. When you stop seeking approval, a new kind of freedom emerges. You are no longer bound by others' expectations. That freedom allows you to explore your own potential, unlocking a power that no longer relies on outside forces. When you stop reacting to the world, you begin to act with intention. You make choices rooted in your own understanding of who you are and what you value. This is the kind of power that brings lasting change, not just in your life, but in the lives of those around you. This transformation happens when you embrace solitude. It's not just about being physically alone, it's about being alone with your thoughts and feelings, free from the constant interference of the outside world. In those quiet moments, the noise fades, and you focus on what truly matters. It is in solitude that you discover your purpose, your direction, and your clarity. Solitude is a source of inner strength. When you trust yourself and stop looking to others for validation, you tap into a power that is uniquely your own. Ultimately, solitude is the foundation of personal growth. In the quiet, we uncover our true potential. In the silence, we stop reacting and start acting with purpose, making choices aligned with who we truly are. When we stop seeking approval from others, we begin to live authentically. We no longer need the crowd to define us or dictate our actions. Instead, we move forward with confidence, creating a life that reflects our deepest values and desires. This is the power of solitude, a power that belongs to you, one that cannot be taken by anyone or anything. Of course, many argue that humans are social creatures, that we are meant to connect, belong, and find meaning through others. We've been taught this since childhood. But here's the paradox. True connection doesn't come from desperation, need, or trying to fit into a mold. It comes from strength and self-sufficiency. When you are whole within yourself, when you've mastered solitude and can stand alone without fear or insecurity, your relationships transform. You stop relying on others to define you. You no longer tolerate disrespect, nor settle for connections that drain you. You stop bending to please or compromising your values for approval. Instead, your relationships are rooted in mutual respect. You attract people who align with your energy and values, not because you seek their validation, but because your presence commands respect. You value yourself, and as a result, others begin to value you too. This isn't about controlling others. It's about owning your space, your energy, and your attention unapologetically. When you stand tall in your truth, comfortable in your solitude, you become magnetic. People are drawn to that energy. They want to be near someone who doesn't need them, but chooses to be with them. When you stop seeking approval, you become a beacon for the right people, the ones who see you for who you truly are, not the version you've shaped to fit into a box. This doesn't mean shutting others out. It means only allowing those into your life who align with your values, your energy, and your goals. It's not about being alone for the sake of it. It's about understanding that your worth doesn't come from anyone else. This is where the power of solitude becomes clear. When you embrace your own company and enjoy your own presence, loneliness loses its grip. Your solitude becomes your strength. When you stop relying on others to define your worth, you realize that everything you need is already within you. This isn't self-isolation or pushing people away. It's reaching a point where you are independent of external validation for happiness. You become the source of your own strength, joy, and peace. When you come from this place, your interactions with others are grounded, authentic, and lasting. Standing firm in your truth changes how you engage with the world. You no longer seek approval or fear rejection. You no longer need outside validation to feel good about yourself. Instead, you act with confidence, guided by your own inner compass. You make decisions based on your inner strength, your values, and your beliefs. This confidence, this self-assuredness, naturally attracts those who resonate with your energy. It's not about forcing connections or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about letting your true self shine and letting others come to you, not because they need something, but because they appreciate you for who you are. Think of the great minds in history, the writers, artists, innovators, who weren't afraid to walk alone. They didn't need a crowd to validate their work. Some of their greatest achievements came in solitude, free from distractions and external pressures. They created not for approval, but because they had tapped into their own inner resources, their own creative flow. They created for themselves, for the pure joy of self-expression. This is the power of solitude. It transforms loneliness into creative energy. When you stop fearing being alone, you gain freedom. The freedom to explore, create, and grow without limits. You stop performing for others and start living for yourself. Through this process of self-discovery, you become magnetic. People are drawn to someone who is comfortable in their own skin, someone who doesn't need to prove their worth, someone living in alignment with their values and truth. Solitude is not a curse. It's not something to avoid or fear. When embraced, it becomes a powerful tool for self-growth and transformation. It's not isolation. It's freedom from the noise and pressure of the outside world, giving you the space to hear your own voice. When you listen to that voice, you unlock a strength that is yours and yours alone. You stop waiting for validation and start creating a life that reflects your true self. The next time you are alone, don't shy away. Don't let fear dictate your actions. Instead, embrace it. Reconnect with yourself. Cultivate your own thoughts, your desires, and your vision for the future. The more you do this, the more you realize that your loneliness isn't something to escape. It empowers you. From that strength, meaningful connections will come naturally. You become a magnet for authenticity, self-respect, and genuine relationships. This isn't about permanent isolation. It's about using solitude strategically. Like a warrior retreats to gain perspective, you can use solitude to refocus, recharge, and gather your thoughts. It's a reset, a moment to step out of the noise and prepare for what lies ahead. Give yourself this time. Step back, clear the clutter, evaluate, and understand who you are and what you truly want. Solitude is not retreat out of fear. It's a retreat for strength. It's a tool for personal growth, a way to shed distractions and focus on what matters most. When the noise fades, you hear your own voice. You think clearly, deeply, and freely. You live authentically, guided by your inner compass rather than the fleeting opinions of others. And here's the truth. The world may try to define you, but in solitude, you define yourself. You are enough exactly as you are. You hold the power to create, to lead, to grow, and to shine. So embrace your solitude. Walk your path alone when needed. Trust yourself. Honor your inner strength. And know this, the person you become in the quiet moments, the resilient, authentic, unstoppable version of yourself, is the person the world has been waiting to see all along. This is the power of solitude. Your strength, your clarity, your life. Own it.